They're two happy women bringing you inspiring stories, politics, pop culture, and lifestyle hacks, all with an eye to making our communities and our country a better place to live. It's the Happy Women Podcast with your hosts, Jen Horn and Katie Gorka.
Did the Biden administration just use $236 billion of your taxpayer money for their own pet projects? That's what we're going to jump into today. Welcome to the Happy Women Podcast. I'm Jennifer Horn.
And I'm Katie Gorka.
And it never ceases to amaze me. You know, I feel like I'm smiling because we actually have a president in the White House, Katie, who is doing things, who's like above ground, who seems to be awake. He seems to be making promises and keeping those promises instead of just saying, well, I'm going to do something. And then 4 years later, you get an update. I mean, there is a lot of action coming around President Trump and his whole team that he has amassed. But the story today is absolutely incredible. As much as we are happy about what is happening, a big component of what the Trump administration is doing is shining a light on some of the atrocities committed by the Biden administration, including misspending our hard-earned cash.
I think it's so interesting that not only is he, first of all, just firing out these rapid action decisions and actions. It's incredible. Every day just brings an onslaught of news. But he's not just going to put an end to things. I really get the sense, from different things that Trump has said, that he wants to actually dig into some of the real injustices. Like, I love this clip of him where he's saying, we are not only looking at employees that aren't showing up for work, but are they double dipping?
Yeah, this is so incredible. So we're going to tell you about this Biden story where it seems that it was just uncovered, these $236 billion in improper payments from 71 agencies. Our buddy who was actually on the podcast with us just a few weeks ago, Wendell Husebo, it actually reported this for Breitbart. So we'll talk about that in a second. But a lot of the attention this week has been on cutting unnecessary government jobs, on cutting the size of departments, on DOGE going in and Elon Musk cleaning things up. And as you mentioned, President Trump was asked about that this week, and he talked about how he wants to drive most people back to the private sector. This isn't supposed to be a bad thing. It's how government should run most efficiently. Take a listen. This is President Trump from just a few days ago.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to the air.
But everybody's replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to remember this. We want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID. They didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder. And we had a federal workforce, like 4% coming into the office. And that just doesn't work. People can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just, it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing. And then at some point, we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us, the government, and then were they also working a second job and a third job and, on government time?
Unreal. And you know what? He is absolutely right. Think about this. Not only do we not have government employees actually going into work, not only do we have the possibility of them double dipping, we're not just paying salaries, Katie, we're actually paying huge amounts of money leasing office buildings that have just been left empty. I mean, part of the story with DOGE and with Elon Musk this week is that he's actually been living inside of these federally leased buildings so that he tries to save some money, and he's got his staff living there too. I guess that was one of his old Tesla tricks.
Well, I thought it was also funny that one of the things he uncovered is that our government agencies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on Keurig cups for employees who aren't coming into the office. Go figure.
I know. I wonder where those things are going. You know, it was so funny. I talked to my mom about Keurig cups. My mom is a Democrat. And I said, it is really interesting how we've all become really reliant on Keurig cups. You would think that that would be so fought by the environmentalists. Think about how many K-cups people probably go through every day, especially in office spaces. But I digress. Back to the Biden administration. So the story out right now is that they wasted $236 billion in improper payments throughout 71 federal programs just in 2023. So we're not talking about the 4 years of Biden. This is literally 1 year. And that's according to the Government Accountability Office. The improper payments underscore President Trump's vow, obviously, to clean up the administrative state. It also supports the need for Elon Musk's audits of all of the federal government agencies. 3/4 of this money was actually sent out. It was sent out in overpayments. And that was just a portion of the federal deficit, which sits at $1.8 trillion under the Biden administration. The New York Times reported on this analysis as well, go figure, and actually called out the Biden administration for these accounting errors totaling all of this money just in 1 year. You can imagine what 4 years of Biden will mean to the American taxpayer. It's going to encourage, obviously, President Trump to get to work even faster. And I don't even know if that's possible. He's already sped through so many of these departments. And he's got these kids under Elon Musk now who are literally just living and breathing these numbers that are meant to try to figure out where the corruption, the fraud, the mistakes, where everything is buried.
Jen, I've said to you before, I've often thought that we are going to be saved ultimately by those kids that were either homeschooled or raised with a classical education. And I'm loving this video going around of Luke Ferrator, one of these kids that's supposedly working for Elon Musk right now. He's got a video going around on X and various places because of something that he did, which is quite extraordinary. He decoded a 2,000-year-old Greek scroll, which had been buried under the lava of Mount Vesuvius. It was indecipherable to everybody. And so it was put up on the internet, and there was a competition. And they said, whoever can decode this, you will get a cash prize. You will get the Vesuvius prize. And he did it. He did it. And now here he is tackling the waste and corruption of our government. And, the things that we are learning about what USAID spends money on, and let's just be clear, AID, this is not the charity arm of the United States government. This is not helping people who are starving. It's not helping hungry children anywhere. This is social engineering at its most aggressive and worst. And we are just seeing program after program of money being spent particularly to promote the LGBTQI and transgender agenda in various countries. It's shocking.
And the Democrats know that the party is over, and that's why they're going crazy. I mean, if you look around social media right now, I've seen so many people who are obviously watching shows that are spewing Democrat talking points about how this is going to destroy everything. We are going to be no longer respected. People aren't going to want to come to the United States. So far, 3 weeks of Trump, I think, have provided nothing but more safety, more security, and more stability for not just the American people, but for the world. And to prove and underscore this anger from the Democrats, we're going to take a listen here in just a second to Jamie Raskin. He's a member of Congress, New York, I believe, and he's talking about USAID. And as you mentioned, Katie, everybody wants to call it USAID because they want people to think that this is about aid for ailing nations or for people, groups of people who are marginalized or who are suffering. That's not it. This is literally a slush fund that was put together by the underbelly of the government. They're using this to fund all sorts of crazy programs, DEI, LGBTQ. I mean, you're talking about transgender musicals or tap dancing. I mean, it's just like DEI tap dancing. I don't even know what that is. But whatever it is, they've come up with these crazy things that they're spending hundreds and hundreds of millions and really billions of dollars on to fund these projects that belong to us. Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State now. He's the acting director now of USAID, because the story this week is that Elon Musk and Donald Trump told employees of USAID not to come to work because they have to figure out who is on the right side of this. So Rubio's in charge, and he made a comment. He said, if you want to fund all these pet projects, do it privately, put them into private organizations, create yourself some sort of organization that is going to fund these specific projects. But do not do this and try to be good stewards or tell people that you're being good stewards of the American taxpayer, because you're not. The Democrats know their gravy train is coming into the station. And here's Jamie Raskin from earlier this week.
Elon Musk, you didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people. And just like Elon Musk did not create USAID, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that under Article 1 of the Constitution. And just like the president, who is elected to something, cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear.
What a terrible argument. We don't have a branch of government called Elon Musk. Surprise, Jamie Raskin. That money's not going to Elon Musk. It's not going to Donald Trump. It's going to be used as the taxpayers want it to be used, on the safety and the security of America. And it's not going to be put into these crazy pet projects of the Democrats and the swamp, who love to probably enrich themselves. You can't tell me that these members of the swamp are not getting kickbacks from these ridiculous expenditures.
Well, and the very idea that as he's arguing that these projects are for the American people, first of all, couldn't be farther from the truth. The things that AID are doing do not align with the values of Americans. And the other thing, for him to argue that the funds of AID are controlled by Congress, we've heard Republican members of Congress complaining about how USAID has stonewalled them and not provided the information that they want about the types of things that they're funding. So, I mean, everything that he said was just a lie. And I say, go ahead all you want and try to stop it. But I think the cat's out of the bag. The American people are starting to learn now exactly the kind of insane things that AID has been funding. You mentioned a couple of the LGBTQIA things. I was particularly grabbed by the $2 million for pottery classes in Morocco, but also 2.9 million pounds for the BBC. Why are we helping to support the BBC? It just makes no sense.
Reason. Yeah. And look, I'm not a hater against pottery classes. I might take one on a weekend, but should that be on your dime, Katie Gorka, or should the money come out of my pocket for my pottery classes? And, I'm an American citizen, I tell you. All right, guys, let's take a quick little time out here, because we are so excited to welcome in a new supporter of the Happy Women podcast. I've tried these products. I have them at home. They are fabulous. And here's something that you really can't escape. What do they always say? You can't escape death and taxes. And part of that is aging. As we age, we're all dealing with more aches and pains, maybe thinning hair, wrinkling skin. Even you notice the nails, they get a little more brittle. Well, I want to tell you about the product that both Katie and I have been using. It's called Revive, and it's from a company called Bright Core Nutrition. It's an easy to mix multi-collagen powder that helps strengthen your bones and joints. And the amazing thing is, I've tried 2 flavors so far. The unflavored, which mixes beautifully into iced coffee or whatever you want to put it in, even just a glass of water. And then the strawberry lemonade is great. I've been looking for a collagen that mixes into water well, and this one absolutely does. Now, the best thing about Revive is that it works from the inside out. It's also going to help you rejuvenate your skin. It's going to help you grow back thicker, healthier hair and strengthen your brittle nails. Revive contains 5 types of collagen. That's what makes it different. It also has hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C, which works synergistically to make you feel and look younger than ever before. It's all natural, non-GMO, 100% made in the USA, which we absolutely love. Today, exclusive for all of you listening to Happy Women, you can get 25% off with the code. And it's a tough one. Happy Women. That's the code. Easy, right? Happy Women. All you have to do is go to brightcore.com/Happy Women or call Brightcore for up to 50% off and free shipping. Give them a call right now. Use the code Happy Women, whether you call or you go online, 888-927-5980, and their educated staff is going to make sure that Revive is right for you. 888-927-5980. Revive from Brightcore. Heal yourself from the inside out. 25% off with the code Happy Women at mybrightcore.com, mybrightcore.com, code Happy Women, or dial 888-927-5980 for up to 50% off and free shipping only when you call. So 2 great options, but use that code Happy Women. You're going to save yourself a lot of money. Now, before we jump back into it, speaking of Happy Women, I feel like we just don't have as much fun as the Democrats do. One happy woman that I can tell you about is Quintessa Hathaway, who is competing to become the next chair of the Democrat National Committee. Now, she lost. There's a spoiler alert. But man, oh man, did she have fun making her pitch to the crowd. Take a look.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
You know, we did not get that from Michael Whatley at the head of the RNC, and I'm just really upset about it. This whole Whatley did great. We won the election, but where was the singing? Where was it? Katie, one of the fun parts of that is watching the sign language interpreter who is actually performing alongside Dr. Quintessa Hathaway at those elections this weekend. But look, other than just being entertaining, Democrats are really trying to regroup right now. And what's interesting is that the only thing they really have, and we've been talking about it all program long, all episode long with the USAID, is that they're trying to fearmonger. They're trying to say that the government is going to be taken over by Elon Musk. The government's going to be taking over by billionaires. With the ICE that's been going on, the ICE raids that have been happening, now they're telling parents in school, your kids are going to be plucked out of their chairs and taken away from you. They are doing nothing but fearmonger. It used to be that they would call us names, but those names are not working anymore because Trump is the cool president now. They've lost that as a tactic of war. And now it is all about bold-faced lies and fearmongering. We have to be ready to go to combat this with truth of our own.
And I just, that also gets at another issue. I wanted to say this. I was watching that clip and really thinking about why it got under my skin so much. What's so wrong with that? And I thought, there really should be nothing wrong. If somebody wants to sing about their beliefs, let them at it. But there was just something about it that felt so inauthentic. It felt so manipulated. And I think this is really the problem with today's Democratic Party. There is no authenticity there. And a lot of them, I think they're trying to recapture that Martin Luther King Jr. magic. You listen to him. He was magic. He was so authentic and had such a power. And you try to capture some of that with a song like this. And I'm sorry, it just falls flat. It falls flat.
I do think you're hitting on like the people that have the it factor. And it's sad because there are plenty of people who do a great job. And I'm thinking of people who are in positions like governor, maybe, who are really good at what they do, but maybe just don't have the it factor. And I think you struggle to try to get that it factor, and it just makes you seem more inauthentic. And what's perfect about Trump is that people could go bananas about the things that he says. Sometimes people don't like the language that he uses. I know you and I've talked about this before, but you know what you're going to get. You know that there is a real person there. And I think that's why he resonates and continues to resonate with people, because you realize it's coming from just authenticity and nothing is put on. And I think this is the wave of the future. We need more of this. Elon Musk is another great example. I don't want to put all of our faith in Elon Musk. He's never been really in politics before, but he knows how to communicate to people. He knows how to excite this group of young people who are ready to come on and help him do amazing things to bring more transparency to the American people. So I don't know. Sometimes people just have it and they're interesting to watch. And then sometimes you have to try to recreate that magic and it falls really flat.
Yeah. I like this clip I've seen going around by one of Musk's colleagues who's talking about what is the secret to Musk's success. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
Okay. So he says, basically what Musk does is and I've heard this before, he travels around to his various companies and he asks them, he does this every single week, what's the biggest problem you've got? And he solves it. And he just goes from one place to the next, being a problem solver. And I feel like that's what he's doing in our government. And I know that the left is going to try to scream and shout and say he's exercising inordinate control. But actually, he's not. He's really just pulling back the curtain, showing us what we should have known already, what we should have been able to see already. He's pulling back the curtain for the American people, and he's pointing out how broken it is. And he's saying, if he's in some cases, I think he's going to say, okay, let's fix it. And others in the case of USAID, I think it's funny because he's saying this is so beyond fixing. We need to just get rid of it.
Don't come to work is what he's saying. And, because it is him saying it, I think more people are going to hear it because, and I think Marco Rubio has been doing a great job as Secretary of State. I mean, some amazing wins already. And I admit that was one of the picks of President Trump where I was like, Marco Rubio, is he? But he's been doing a fabulous job. And my point here is that when Elon Musk talks about the waste and fraud and corruption at USAID, people are going to listen to him. Marco Rubio, they might just kind of, cruise on by. So it's all about that vessel, somebody that's interesting to watch. And Elon certainly is bringing some light to it. And I also have to say, I love the way that he's protected some of the people working for him. He's got 6 young men, as we talked about, who have been working for him at Doge and literally are just living and breathing these government payments. And somebody tried to release their names and personal information on social media. And Elon Musk went crazy about that, saying that these are private citizens. They, that's illegal actually to release the information as they did. He tried to help curtail that information online. And today, as we sat down, I saw a headline that I thought was just such an interesting juxtaposition. And that is that FBI agents are now taking legal action for releasing the information on January 6th investigators. So it's amazing that in one breath, we can say we should protect those people who investigated January 6th. And in another breath, we say it's perfectly okay for these young men to have their names released. And this is what CNN is doing, by the way. The stories were next to each other on the CNN website as we sat down today, making fun of Elon Musk for trying to protect these kids. And then, of course, saying, well, these FBI agents deserve protection. They went after the January 6ers. The hypocrisy just is on full display.
Since you've brought up the J6ers, I just want to talk about it for a second because I was talking to a friend this morning who's a mom of a J6er. And I was asking her, first of all, did her son get out of prison and how's he doing? And she said, yes, thank you, Trump. Thank you, God. He got out of prison. And she said, he's doing great. His faith is strong. He's a solid kid. But she said she's in touch with a bunch of the other moms. They all became friends through this this ordeal. And she said a lot of these young men are really struggling, really suffering. One nice thing she told me, and she said one thing that was really helpful is that she and her son went to a meeting of one of our local conservative groups. It's one of our local Republican groups. And apparently when she and her son walked in, they just burst into cheers and treated him like a hero. And everybody was like shaking his hand. And she said it really went a long way to sort of helping him, because he was very nervous what it would be like to come back into society. He was afraid that, everybody would be looking at him like, oh, you're a J6er. But no, he really got a hero's welcome, which I think is great.
I love to hear that. And just to one more story before we wrap today, and it really does kind of line up with this. Again, the picking and choosing the heroes and the villains, especially under the Biden administration. You may have seen the images of the Day Without an Immigrant protests that were going on. So February 3rd was the official Day of the Immigrant. And so they decided to have rallies in primarily blue cities and states across the country and have people go on strike, essentially to show, the mean, bad white guy what it would be like to live without immigrants in their areas. We've had 2 really huge protests already. I would imagine maybe another one happens today in Los Angeles. There are freeway takeovers, vandalizing cars. They had to shut down bus service. The 101 freeway was shut down for hours on Sunday, for a few hours on Monday. The police were given a stand down order by Karen Bass. They were vandalizing vehicles. They were spray painting things. Again, the hypocrisy is just on clear display, where we would actually put into jail these January 6ers for much less than we're seeing captured on film in cities like Los Angeles on this Day Without an Immigrant. And the January 6ers go away for 4 years. Some of them don't even get trials. And these others do not even get an arrest. They don't even get looked at. And they're allowed to just protest and cause fear and really terror among some of the drivers who had their vehicles taken over. I mean, people jumping on top of the vehicles, like, just not a great scene, not a great way to win people to your cause, but just another way to point out that you had a group of people who were kept as political prisoners while other people have never even had a slap on the wrist for some of the same behavior or maybe worse behavior.
And how about everything that went on during the BLM riots?
Absolutely.
Nobody paid the price. I mean, it still just also kills me that you had all those people rioting in DC, causing property destruction after the first Trump inauguration. I think over 200 actually were arrested, put in prison, and not a single one was charged. Every single one was released. But this kind of politicization of our legal system is what Trump is promising to end. And I tell you what, if the last 2 weeks is anything to go by, what Trump promises, Trump delivers.
In about 4 seconds. So just wait. Probably by the time we release this episode, it'll be a whole different ballgame. But thank you so much for joining us. Please keep up those 5-star reviews. It really does mean a lot. Follow us on social media. That helps. And please share Happy Women with your friends. You can connect with us on all of our platforms at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. YouTube is a great place to watch as well if you want to see the video aspect of the podcast. And get Katie's book. It's called Next Gen Marxism, available wherever you get your books or at katiegorka.org. You can follow her on Facebook. Just search for Catherine Gorka, on X, Gorka Katie. And you can always follow me as well on Facebook and Instagram at Jennifer Horn Radio, and on X and Truth Social at Jennifer Horn. Thanks so much for joining us. It's another episode of the Happy Women Podcast.